Welcome to episode 5 of Pastor Chat. We're very happy you're here. We do have our co-host Lori Colton is here with us, but she is off camera. She is moderating our chat room to make sure it doesn't get out of control. Just kidding. Pastor Chat's a very well-behaved group of people that come to Pastor Chat. And right now, I don't think we have anybody who has joined us yet. Is that right, Lori? Okay, Lori is going to relocate her computer because her screen is spinning. One thing that sometimes happens is my particular internet will go out. This is a real high class program. There's Kay. Kay is here. All right, welcome, Kay. But if perhaps the screen does go out at some point, Lori will pick up in the chat box. So anyway, the show must go on, as Lori Colton in Venice Theater would tell us. So what we're going to do today is, I can hear myself speaking in the other room, and that's way too loud. You're going to, okay, volume's off over there. All right. Anyway, what we're going to do today is I'm going to talk with you a little bit about what I'm calling the Pentecost 2020 plan for our congregation. Came out of some thoughts on Pentecost Sunday and also some thoughts since then about the future of our church in this very unusual time with COVID-19 and all kinds of other things going on. What I hope you will do for those who are here is if you have any questions as I'm going along, I may ask you for some questions. If you do, you can put those in the chat box, or you could also text Lori on her number, and that number is in the chat box. Also, you could call Lori. So really, in other words, there's really no reason not to give some feedback or interaction tonight. But seriously, we hope that you will if you have any comments or thoughts as we go along. And hopefully we'll have some more folks join us. Obviously, if you're watching this as a recording, none of those ways of communicating with us will work. Well, I guess they could, except for Pastor Chat would be over. All right. Anyway, so this is really designed to be a true Pastor Chat tonight, where we will have some good interaction, I hope, with folks who are here. The first thing I just want to talk about real quick is a question I know that's on a lot of people's minds, and that is in-person worship. Our leadership team is meeting on Wednesday to talk again about sort of where we are in that process. Right now, we do not have a date set for returning to worship. As soon as we do, we will let you all know that for those who are in the area and could be interested in in-person worship. Right now, there is no UCC church that I know of in the area that is actually worshiping in person. There is at least one church that is going to start worshiping in July. And there may be others I don't know about, but at this point, I think nobody's actively worshiping in person. Everything is online. I think also, there's a concern because of the fact that in Florida, cases have been rising pretty dramatically with COVID-19 in the last couple of weeks. And that causes more concern about thinking about in-person worship. So we're keeping an eye on that as well. And it's a good reminder that when we do get back to in-person worship, and we will get back to in-person worship at some point, it will probably not look exactly like worship does or has in the past. It will probably not include singing, group singing. It will not include things like coffee hour and passing of the peace, and it'll have social distance seating. So it'll look and feel a little bit different, but we'll give you more details as we get close to that. But it's also a reminder that, we're really called as a church right now, both our church and the Church Universal, to be creative in reimagining worship, and not just worship, but reimagining what the church is in this new environment, and who are we called to be in order to effectively accomplish the mission of the church. And so tonight, that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about. Some of my thoughts on that, getting some of your feedback on it as we begin to move forward with some new steps to accomplish our mission. So let's talk a little bit about the Pentecost 2020 plan. The vision I have it right now, as I write it down, is that this is a vision for our church in a time of COVID-19 and beyond, with the idea that we start becoming the church that we feel we should be now, and continue to live into that, so that we are already taking good steps for mission and ministry, even after that will serve us well, even after this COVID-19 pandemic hopefully passes, and hopefully that happens quickly. So as part of this, I'm envisioning, and Lori helped me with some of these ideas when we talked about it. I'm envisioning 3 growth areas for us, and a very high-tech prop to show that. So there are 3 areas. So one is that we will grow in spirit. Can you see that on the screen, Lori? Can you see my sign? Oh, okay. Anyway, well, show me if it shows up. So this is excellent. So grow in spirit is one area. So that is growing spiritually, growing in the spirit of Christ, the spirit of God, and all of those things. Second area of growth that we are hoping for is to grow in service. So in outreach to others and serving our community and being part of fighting for things like racial justice in the United States, peace in Korea, I mean, all kinds of stuff where we want to be part of growing the service we do to the world around us. And then the other one is to grow in community. And so that is growing in our life together, as Dietrich Bonhoeffer would say it, as we live together as a community of faithful people bound together by the Spirit of God and the Spirit of Christ. And of course, each of these are very broad categories, and they are also interconnected. You know, it's not one or the other. It's really all 3 areas of growth working together, which is what fuels what I think will be an even greater ministry in terms of our effectiveness and our outreach. So those are kind of the 3 areas I'm hoping that you will think about. And so my first question tonight is, what do you think about those 3 categories? Am I missing anything? Is there something I should have included? And if you have a thought about that and you're here with us live, text that to Lori, call it to Lori, or put it in our chat box. And I'll give you just a second to do that. I'm looking at it right now, my friend. And thanks for putting those in there. In case anybody's wondering, that is a Cleveland Cavalier cup and the matching Cleveland Cavalier hat tonight. So just another reminder of my sports interest for any Clevelanders that are out there. So, Laura, I don't see anything yet. Do you have any responses? Okay, so I'm just going to move forward, but feel free to give those responses and we will work those in. So I just don't want to hold up our, the flow of what we're doing. This is the first time we've done this kind of live interactive thing. So just hop in there, give us a text, a phone. Okay, good. So we got 7 folks here. So any of the 7 here, if you have a thought that you want to share on those 3 growth areas, go ahead and chime in by text, by phone call, or by chat box. And Lori, did you have anything you wanted to chime in on? Are you going to? Oh, so Lori, here's Lori.
Hello.
Hi, Lori.
I think that if you grow in spirit, then you will grow in service, and vice versa. Sometimes when you grow in service, it helps you grow in spirit.
Yeah.
And if you do all those things, you'll then naturally grow in community. Like Kay is saying, it's all interconnected.
I love seeing that Kay says it's all interconnected, exactly.
And I think growing in community might even mean, in traditional terms, growing in number. Actually having more people
could be, or a deeper community, a stronger connected community. And just so you know, Jack also has just walked in, so apparently he feels very strongly about those 3. He might also want to grow in treats and walks. That might be, but we'll talk about that, Jack, maybe another time. Okay, thanks, Jack, always good to see you. Okay, so good. So I wanted to talk just a few minutes about some core principles as I see it. So some things that are at the core of what we do and how we function. And again, these are just some of the things that I'm thinking about. But there are others. And so here's something that I'm thinking about. One is that and this is probably the most important, that we follow Jesus and the Spirit of God in what we do. Meaning that spiritual growth is at the root of all that we do. So it's just like what Lori was talking about, that the more we do these things, the more we grow spiritually, the closer we follow Christ, the better we are and stronger we are as a community in terms of the health of our community, our purpose, and our effectiveness. Another really important thing is, and this is what all really most church kind of growth experts and things most say, that it's really important for churches to keep it simple and to be flexible. So not getting loaded down by standing committees and lots of bylaws and lots of procedures. I mean, having what you need, but not things that get in the way. And of course, our church is one of the great things about where we are at the moment is we have a lot of flexibility. We are sort of restarting, revitalizing. So we have lots of flexibility for how we want to do things and carry out our mission. So that's helpful. I think we also always want to be team oriented. So it's not just one person, i.e. the pastor or a group of leaders, but it's everybody pitching in and finding their place in this team oriented way of doing ministry together. Another really important one for me is the just hit my, I don't know what happened. Just hit my mouse. But this is a really important one for me, is follow the energy. And what I mean by that is that not forcing things. So if an idea is out there, and some of the things I talk about tonight, there'll be some opportunities that maybe just nobody's interested in. And if nobody's interested in them, and they're not fundamental to what we do as a church, like we can't just say we don't ever want to worship. But if there are things that I'm proposing, or that others propose that people just aren't interested in, then that means the energy is just not there for it. So there's no need to force that. There's nothing wrong with that. The Spirit teaches us sometimes by telling us where energy is, and so we will follow the energy, and then we will have ideas and try new things. But if things don't have any energy that comes to it, then that's okay. We just move on. And that's a good way for a church not to get stuck trying to force things that just really don't fit. And a lot of times, churches have that experience. Another one is embrace the new normal, this new reality we in, and embrace change. Things are going to continually look different, and that's okay. In fact, it's not just okay, it's great. All great changes in churches look odd at first. And so, and just the fact that we're seeing so many online church services and ministries now based out of this COVID-19 experience is strange and different and takes some getting used to, but it is it has many blessings attached to it. I was talking with one of my former church members at Northport who will tune into our services as part of their Sunday ritual, said one of the things that he and his wife like about online worship is that they can talk to each other during the sermon about something they notice or that they agree or they disagree with. And instead of just having to wait till after church when they might forget it, they can right then in that moment say, hey, what do you think of this? Or let's talk about that. And that's a cool way that new ways of doing things can create new opportunities for growth. I think as part of that, we need to not be fearful, not fear change. We'll all be okay. God's going to be with us no matter what. So we can stand strong on that ground and feel good about trying new things. A core feature for us, of course, is valuing diversity. It's also just a fundamentally core feature of our denomination, the United Church of Christ. So we welcome people, diversity of people. We want to do better at that. We want to do more of that. And of course, you all know I have a specific, particular concern for making sure that we also embrace and welcome people with disabilities and their families. Lori, did you need to say something or no? Oh, okay. Okay. Gotcha. The freedom of thought is another important one. You all hear that in my preaching a lot. You know, that's a big part of the history of the United Church of Christ. We want people to think for themselves. We want people to develop and grow spiritually, their own path as they follow Jesus, doing it with scripture and other resources. But we're not a place that's going to tell people you have to think this or that. We are going to encourage people to take their faith seriously and dig deep to really find a spirituality that is good for their lives and good for the community and good for the world around them. We also want to be ecumenical. I just say, in short, we want to play well with others in the religious world. And we want to be interfaith, which is similar, but we also want to learn from others. And that's a big part of what interfaith relationships are. And so I think that's another thing we want to look for opportunities to do. And then, as I mentioned earlier, constantly committing to reimagining church, to taking this great creative brains that God gave us to think about, okay, what are new opportunities? What are new things we can do that we haven't thought of before? So those are just some core principles I wanted to put out there. Would be interested if you have any thoughts about those, anything you agree with, disagree with, anything that's missing that you think should be on that list. Go ahead and put that in the chat box. Call or text with any comments that you might have. I'm just looking at the chat box real quickly. Laura, I appreciate how you're summarizing anything. That is great. To help people but it's good. Those are really good highlights. Yeah, I appreciate those. Lori, do you have any thoughts you want to share? You can come back in if you do. Okay. All right, good. So let's see. I'm not you checking your phone to see if anybody texted or anything? Okay, good. All right. Okay. So again, you can just pop those in there at any time, any comment or suggestion that you might have or question. So I want to talk with you just a little bit about what's new already with our community, because there's some new stuff that's happening that some of it you're aware of, some of it you might not be aware of. Some good things that are going on that have been happening since this close down of our in-person worship services began. So a few of those things are, you have not seen it yet because I have not published it yet, but we do have a new website for our church, which Lori helped me come up with a name for. It has a new name, a new, what do you call it, Lori, when you have a new URL? Because our old URL was not a really easy one to tell that it was a church, and it also included the city of Bradenton, and we are actually no longer in Bradenton. We are actually in Sarasota. Actually, we are almost literally right at the middle, right where Manatee County and Sarasota counties meet at Allegro Music Academy, our lovely place where we worship. And so we started thinking about, okay, what kind of name could we have that would be a placeholder till we know more about who we are as we move into the future. So what we came up with was calling our website Minnesota United Church of Christ. We have it both. We have both. It's spelled out Minnesota United Church of Christ and also MinnesotaUCC.org. Yeah, so either URL will get you there, although not yet because it's not officially published at the moment. It's .org, correct, Lori. So I don't want anybody to go to it right now because it's not there, but I will let you know when it is, and that's going to be very soon. But I'd also be interested in knowing what you think about that name, Minnesota United Church of Christ. There may be a point where we decide that we want to use a different name for our church that's more updated to who we are now. And right now, since we're in between both those communities, it seemed like, hey, that's a great spot for us to be. We're not changing our name. I'm just saying right now for our website, we're using that, and we can kind of try on for size if we ever thought Minnesota United Church of Christ might be an interesting possible name for our congregation if it fit for us in the future. Right now, it's just a placeholder for our website. Yes, Lori.
Yeah. And one of the reasons our current name, although it's our tradition and, we love everybody who's been a part of that, Congregational United Church of Christ, from a marketing director's perspective, is very, very generic. So if you were to look up Congregational United Church of Christ, a lot of different things come up. We've had that happen on Facebook and with the website. On YouTube, you look up Congregational United Church of Christ, and a lot of churches have that in their name. So if we used Minnesota, that would identify us more specifically.
Yeah. And so again, it's not that, thanks, Lori. And again, it's not that we are, that has a decision that's been made at all. It has not. It has not been discussed at all. It simply was a good way to have a placeholder to tell people kind of where we are and who we serve now. So, yeah, but that would be the thinking behind if we did go with a name such as that, or if we went with something else, or if we completely stay with what we have now. But it's a good way of just thinking about reimagining possibilities for our church. The tagline on that new website is "Grow with us." That's what we're asking people to do who are interested in our church, is just grow with us. So, and that. Right, which fits with our three growth areas. And the website will have some cool features to it that I think you're going to like. And so I look forward to having you see that. It's just taking a little longer than I thought to get everything together and get it ready. But it's coming soon. So that's one thing I wanted you to know about. Another thing is that, we accept donations online now. I've sent out that link. We're not doing that before. We also now have the capability through a program we're part of now called Faith Teams, of creating a church-wide texting list. And so you will have an opportunity in the near future to sign up for that if you'd like to. And that way we could send you not a lot of messages, but things like, hey, Pastor Chat's about to start in 10 minutes, or those kinds of things. Or if there's any kind of important announcement we wanted to get out to everybody at one time. So you can listen or look for that opportunity. We also now have an online capability of through Faith Teams of housing all our church membership information, our church directory. So you all will be getting information about that. We also have new ways to increase our social media profile. And again, these are all inexpensive ways that we've been able to do this, much of it because of COVID-19. There are a lot of places been offering some great opportunities in the next year for churches to have support that would be more expensive in the past or in the future than it is right now. So we're taking advantage of those, because one of the interesting things is it is true that when we are scaled down to only online worship and online presence, in an odd way, it does make us more equal to larger churches, because none of us are able to make much use of a big building at the moment. But this big space of technology and online ministry all around us are opportunities for all of us to expand our ministries and our effectiveness and our reach to people. We've also applied for a grant from the Florida Conference to upgrade our equipment for online ministry and services, which we really need. We have done amazing, I think, given that we are working off two personal laptops and sometimes an iPhone, and we have not missed a beat in terms of having a worship service. Sometimes we've missed the start, but and sometimes the streaming quality sometimes isn't as good as we would like it to be. But we've held our own, and I'm proud that we've been able to do that. But we want to do better. We want to be even more professional. I do have a new editing program, and you'll notice that when I send out links and things, that there's a more professional looking cover photo on those. We're going to be doing more of that stuff, and we're excited to do that. And we're excited that it looks like the UCC Florida Conference will help us with some additional equipment that will allow us to do this online ministry better, because we're not going to stop online ministry even once we start back to in-person worship. We also, and I'm sorry, I just have to say a big thanks to Lori for our online services. Technologically and liturgically would not have been able to do it without Lori and her singing, and also just her knowledge she's brought to the table with how to use YouTube and all those things. So I'm very much aware that this has been as big an effort by her as it has been by me. So thank you, Lori. Also, I am exploring an interesting free online church platform that I have signed us up for. It's called Open Life Church, and it has some pretty interesting capabilities that are free and then are legit free and will remain free. So I'm still looking at how that might help us as another resource for our Sunday morning worship, might help us with some of our streaming issues too. So I'm just spending a lot of time trying to keep up on what's happening out there and resources that might help us. So those are some of the things that are happening right now, some new things. So I just want to take a pause to see if we've had any questions that have come in, Lori, or any comments or anything like that. Okay. Great. Okay. Kay says that she likes the new website idea. That's exciting and likes the name. And that's great, Kay. And you'll remember I think, Kay, you were at our retreat, at least most of it that we had, it seems ages ago now. But we talked a little bit about the possibility of maybe thinking out of the box. And one of those things was possibility of looking at kind of rebranding ourselves with a different name based on the changes. So I'm glad to hear you're excited about the website and using it for that. Okay, so I don't see any other questions right there. Laura, you might want to just put your phone number in again, just in case anybody has come in late who is more adept at texting or calling than using the live chat. Yeah, I don't have that link with me, right? I mean, I can't put that up right now, but I will send out again in one of my MailChimp emails that goes out. Yeah, definitely will do that. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit about what's coming. So what I see coming are new ways for people to participate, and this is the part that I'm very interested in getting your response to, and others. Other people will watch this when we send it out, and I will be putting this plan also in writing for people to look at as well. But we want to invite people to participate in some new ways in the life of the church. Because, I mean, obviously, nothing's going to happen with our church unless people put their energy towards things that they care about and that they get excited about doing as part of the church. So this is really going to be a call to action, not just for folks who are in person here in Sarasota and Bradenton, but also for our friends who around the country who have become part of our community, who might want to find some ways to fit in with our church as part of just their commitment to God and Christ, and just another way that they can be participating in the life of a church community. So here are some new ways that I see people having opportunities to participate. And I'm putting all of these in terms of a team. So one is a prayer team. Our new website will have the ability for people to put online their prayer requests 24/7. And then when that prayer request comes in, that email is going to come right now to me. I'd like to have a team of people that email could come to. And so that team of people along with me could pray for that prayer request when it comes in. So that's an example of what a prayer team would do, would be intentionally finding time to pray together for issues of concern for our church, members of our church, and the world around us. A care team, which is about providing care for people who are homebound and not able to be as regularly with us in worship. We have 3 people already who are helping to do that, but we're looking for more. And we're looking to do more with the care team. So that would be another area we will ask people to join in. We need help with a tech team. Right now, our tech team is basically me and Lori. And so it would be great to have more people, and Eileen. Yeah, and Eileen when we do our in-person worship. So me, Lori, and Eileen. So it would be very helpful to have other people who, even if you don't know how to do tech stuff, would be willing to learn some stuff, particularly in-person worship when we back to worship. If Eileen needed to be away for a Sunday, we need somebody to be able to handle the slides. So you don't have to be a techie if you're just interested and you're like, man, it'd be kind of fun to learn. When we send out that word, let us know you're interested. Another team will be our outreach team. Now, this is a really important team. Already we have, as a church, have done some good outreach, but we want to do more. So the outreach team is looking at how do we serve the community around us? How do we advocate for causes we believe in the world around us? How do we make sure that our presence is being heard as a Christian community and joining with others to be heard? So if you're interested in how to get involved, get this church more involved in the community around us, meeting the needs of God's people, then the outreach team would be a great spot for you. So that's another area that we're looking for people, because I need ideas. I need ideas from people of how to respond to COVID-19. What are some things we can be doing in our community? What are some things we can be doing in our community while we're not yet meeting in person in worship? How can we do those things? And so if those are interesting questions for you, then keep an eye out for that opportunity. Another one will be the Messy Church team. I put Messy Church / Family Ministry team. They kind of blend together. But Messy Church is something we can do online. We really can. There are some great tools and resources for that, but I need some help from some folks who are willing to, to be part of that effort to figure out how to get that information out to people and how to reach out to folks who might be interested. So if you're interested in children, families, that kind of thing, Messy Church team, Family Ministry team. Also looking to see if there might be some people to put together a worship team, both online and in person. That could be people like we already have some folks who do readings. Those folks would be part of this team, but there may be some people who have ideas about some things we could do in worship, or some things we might try, or some special services we might consider. Definitely would love to hear what people's ideas are. And so that would be what the worship team would be about. Funding team. Yes, it's another word for development. But, people that would be interested in looking at how do we raise money for our ministries, because we have to be cognizant of that. I love that that's not the front and center thing for this church, nor should it be. But it is also a reality that we need to be thinking about. How do we make sure that we secure enough money to provide the ministries that we want to present to the community and the things that we want to do as a church? So that would be another team. Another really important team is the social media team. So we really need some dedicated folks. And I know a lot of folks out there on social media, you're on here tonight, who'd be willing to be really faithful about getting the word out about what our church does, what our opportunities are, encouraging people to participate in the life of our church, those kind of things. So if you're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any of those kind of things, if you're already on them, you might as well spend a couple of minutes when you're on them, maybe retweeting, or, what do they call it on Facebook, Lori? Share a story or a service, or that kind of thing. Also, another one is an administration team. Now, Donna, our dear friend Donna, has been a great help to me with administration back when we were still doing stuff in the office, getting things organized. But we could use some other folks who could just help us kind of get some things organized and think through our policies and our procedures and those kind of things, because some of those things fell a little bit by the wayside over the last couple of years. We want to make sure that we are building the right infrastructure if we, as we anticipate, have some growth provided to us by God's Spirit. We want to be ready to manage that well. We, of course, have our leadership team of a great group of folks who lead our congregation. That is always an opportunity for people interested in applying to be part of the leadership team. And they're the folks who sort of oversee, and they're I'm accountable directly to them in terms of overseeing the work that I do. So that's another opportunity. I'm also thinking of an education team. I know it's a lot of teams, and I'm not saying everybody's going to be on the team, but I want to put a bunch of things out there and see where the energy is. And some of these might mix together, but when I think about education team, I'll talk about that a little bit later. You'll hear what I'm thinking about with that. And that's all I have for right now on that. So I'll stop now that Lori's saying, how many teams do you have? And then, okay, funny. Ooh, yeah. But does anybody have any comments on that? Any questions or anything I'm missing? Probably not, based on Lori's response. Or just any other thoughts on that, or anything else we said so far? Good. Any of those 8 people, the pressure's on you. Before the 8 arrives, maybe Kay may have heard me say this, but if you can call, text, or put in a chat box, we've really taken away every reason you might have for not giving some kind of comment or feedback. So the pressure is on. If you would like to, and I think the phone just rang, so there may be a call coming in right now. Lori, is that a call? Oh. Okay, Gloria, that was unfortunately we got our hopes up. That was not a real call for us. So, okay. Anyway, um, okay. So unless you, and I don't see anything in the chat box right now, Lori. Do you? Okay. All right. Don't be sad. It's all right. Okay. Now, the other part I want to talk about is ways that we will be inviting people to intentionally grow in spirit. Okay, so remember there was the service part, but then there's the growth in spirit, that critical part of us developing our own spirituality and our own walk with God. And I love that Kate just put in there. She's a team player, and we love that about UK. And I think all these areas that we're looking at are areas that you already are growing in, and we love your faithfulness and your participation in our church life. So here's some ways that I think we can invite people to intentionally grow in spirit, because we need to provide that opportunity. So when I talked about education, I'm talking about the biblical conversations that I've talked about in the past, and I've got 4 or 5 people interested in that. So we're going to get moving with that. Those are sort of longer term, not really as much biblical studies as conversation about scripture. I also would like us to have a once a month spiritual study topic. This would be online. So it might be one particular topic. We could do it on Zoom. Maybe it would be 1 month on forgiveness, and the next month on, Lori, what would be a good topic? Prayer. So anything that might be of practical use that we could target with a once a month thing, so that we could at the end of the year say, look, here are the 12 things that we've done. And the beauty of that is that now that we're doing things also online, is we can have all those recordings available for people to go back on our website and look at in the future. We start to have a library of education that comes from our congregation. So some really cool possibilities there. Also want to do some occasional book studies, and I'll give you the lead off right now that the Gentle Answer book that I preached about 2 weeks ago, that is the first book study that I want to do. So keep in mind if that might be something you'd be interested in, because I'll be putting word out about that, asking if folks are interested in the next week or so we can start getting maybe a 3 or 4 week group going to talk about that book. And just another way we can grow in spirit, grow in community, and grow in service. So it all wraps together. We, of course, had our monthly prayer service that we were doing in person, and I think we need to get that back, even if we're just doing an online prayer service. I really think that's important. Well, we haven't done an actual prayer service, I don't think, but we did do during Holy Week some prayer services. So I'm going to try to get that back going, and certainly it's something we'll continue once we're in person as well. Pastor Chat is one of the ways we hope that will help people grow spiritually through the different things that we do here and talk about. Our various support groups that we've talked about, pet support group, our caregiver support group, which we didn't have enough time to get off the ground because COVID-19 arrived. So those are other opportunities for people to grow spiritually. At the same time, we reach out to the community as well. And also, I forgot, one of the teams will be our hospitality team. So Margaret provides that for us in person. So, that's when we think about our events that we're a long way away from right now, but any events related to food and other things and those kind of fun activities at church. We also want to look at small spiritual groups for those who want to live life together more consistently. Lots of churches do that. Could be 2, 3, 4 people who might have a curriculum or a plan